So I would prefer being in a room full of people who are not so interested in my music, but there. So at least I can feel something
Yeah.
than being in a recording studio, just like with microphones and like having this cold feeling of, oh yeah, actually, yeah, it's super cool like to record our music and like to try to capture these moments, and especially when it's the first meeting, it's always super special. So yeah, I want to do it, but it feels very weird to me.
Fair. I get that.
Hey everybody, welcome to For the Record, a casual, mostly unedited conversation series presented by Grey Matter, where we talk to music heads about their stories and the music that makes them. I'm your host, McKeegan Voice. Today on episode 41, I chatted with Farida Amadou, who's a self-taught bass player based in Brussels, Belgium. The electronic bass has been Farida's main instrument since 2011, and she's explored a number of musical styles since then, from blues to jazz to hip-hop. Then she discovered improvisation, which is a style and community she quickly embraced. In 2017, after spending a year playing bass for Belgian punk band Cocaine Piss, Farida decided to focus on her own solo improvisation practice and collaborations. And since then, she's played with a number of luminaries, from Steve Noble to Thurston Moore to Peter Brötzmann to Moor Mother. We chatted about her unconventional approach to music making, the importance of the energy in a room, and of course, we talked about great music. Hope you enjoy.
So yeah, hey Farida, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, Keegan. I'm so happy to be here.
Good. Yeah, so as is the case with pretty much all of these, we like to start at the beginning, and would love to hear a bit more of your story, your origins, where you're from, and then how and when your relationship with music started.
So I grew up in Belgium, originally from Niger, and yeah. So I've always wanted to play music. I started by singing a lot, and I think it's also because of my mom was singing a lot at home. She was singing over cassettes, from Niger. It was really interesting because it was also like cassettes from people who used to play music in the village, so it was really like improvised music, actually.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool. So I started by singing, and then around 14, I started playing the guitar and listening to a lot of pop rock music. I would say what the teenagers of my age were usually listening, like the Cranberries, Coldplay, and I was listening to a lot of CDs, so I would push play and stop and pause to just try to learn the chords. So yeah, I've always been a self-taught musician, and then after that, one day I met a girl who was a classical guitar player, and she wanted to learn how to play jazz standards. So she kind of told me how to do this, because before that I could play the guitar, but I didn't know what I was playing. So people would ask me which chord is this, and I was like, I don't know. I just put my fingers, and I don't know. So I've learned to play jazz standards, and then I've met some people who were playing improvised music in Liège. So it's in the French part of Belgium, not far from the German border. And so those people were really, really amazing, because they just welcomed me in their collective. I didn't know how to play the bass either, I just wanted to explore. So we started playing improvised music together, and they were also the first musicians I would listen on improvised music concerts. So the first time I've listened to an improvised music concert, it was them, and I was just like so amazed. And I found that super weird too, the like, oh, it's like they're not listening to each other, because I was really not educated to that. And yeah, we became friends and we started playing music together.
Cool. I love that. Yeah, I would love to go back and talk a little bit about the cassettes that your mom used to sing over. If you can remember like any of the artists or any of the albums or like the names, I would love, to hear
Yeah.
about them.
So my mom is a huge fan of Oumou Sangaré. She's a singer from Mali. So she was listening to a lot of Oumou and also Ali Farka Touré. So yeah, that's what I remember. I'm actually going to ask her because I'm right now actually at my mom's place.
Oh, nice.
So I need to ask her later. But I know it was a lot of not especially music from Niger, but music from West Africa in general. So yeah, I started again to listen to that kind of music like 2 years ago, and I'm a huge fan of Ali Farka Touré. There's a super cool album, super beautiful. It's called Radio Mali. I really recommend it. And now his son is also playing music. And it's very of course inspired by his dad. It's also a funny story because it's I'm not gonna talk too much about that, but it's kind of funny because when he was a kid, his dad used to say to him, don't become a musician, like this life is too hard, and he became a musician playing his old dad's songs and like being music, and it's very beautiful. So his name is Vieux Farka Touré.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that's a common advice from a musician. Don't be a musician. I'm curious how you feel about that. If that was advice that you got, when you were a kid, especially since you're at your mom's place currently, and are you happy you embraced this journey?
Oh yeah, I'm super happy. Yes. So the thing also with me is, I guess, it's kind of personal because me and my brothers and sisters, we are the first generation to grow up in Europe. So there was kind of a pressure on my mom's side to say, hey, like you need to make real studies. Music is not a job. She's not saying that anymore. So there was always this kind of pressure, but I actually liked it. I could understand, like imagine like leaving your own country for like us to like have a better life than she had. So I actually studied speech therapy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I've worked as a speech therapist for 7 years while playing music. So I would play music on the weekends and go to my regular job in the week. So and it was very interesting. So I did that until like just right before 20 to just focus on music because I already had a lot of work, and I just wanted to embrace this career.
Cool. I love that. I had a speech impediment growing up. And still have it a little bit. So I grew up going to a speech therapist as well, and I've always thought of like my own, like having a stammer being kind of out of rhythm with myself, like my brain and my voice being out of rhythm. And I'm curious if you found that at all in your work, or if you made any association between that and the music that you were making.
Yes, of course. So when I was a student, I started already when I intern in a school for disabled children to put in relation the learning of the reading and the learning of reading a score. So I would I had like some kind of giant board, a giant score, and I would just put words related to a note, and we would just repeat it like singing,
Mm.
And it was very interesting. And then when I started my job, the thing is, I was also working with deaf children's, so I would try to include the rhythms because, of course, the vibrations and the movements are very important for them. So yeah, I did it. It was really cool. Yeah.
Cool. I love that. Yeah, and I'd love to go to the first time you saw like an improvisational, performance, and kind of the weirdness of it, and not yet being exposed to that culture and that kind of relationship, that dialogue. What was it about that really attracted you?
So yes, when I first experienced improvised concert, it was really for me I was trying to understand what was happening. I guess a lot of people can feel if they experience this for the first time, and I couldn't really understand. And for me, it was just noise. It was just people getting together and making noise. And this is so funny because for months I would say to my friends, "Oh yeah, you're gonna play a concert of your weird music," And then also when they invited me to play a session for the first time, I was like, "But I cannot play that kind of stuff," I was super scared. So yeah, it stayed for at least I would say a year. I would be like, what is this really? What are they doing? So it's super funny that I'm playing this now.
Yeah, I mean, what was it that, after a year, what happened during that year, as you were hearing it, and was there a thing that clicked where you're like, okay, I get it. This is weird, but I understand it now. It's pretty cool.
I couldn't really understand it, but I wanted to play a lot of music, so I decided to play sessions with them. So there was a drummer, an alto player, a contrabass player, and a percussionist, and a clarinet player. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna play a session with you. And the thing is, the first time was really I felt like I was in a kind of trance, like having that kind of super good feeling. I didn't know really why. But then after a few sessions, I understood that for me, it was a way to express myself that would free me, because there were things I wanted to say with words, but I couldn't because I've always been shy. I when I was younger, it was difficult for me to have social relationships, and going out with friends. But by doing this, I could express something I couldn't with words. I don't know if it's clear, if it's
Totally.
Yeah. So at first, I would say the 2 first years for me, it was. I would say I was a bit selfish, I would say, because I was just doing this for me. I was like, oh yeah, I can finally say that.
Like having therapy, like going to therapy
Yeah.
and having an unbiased person where you can really express something that you've never been able to express before.
Yeah, totally. It was my meditation. And then I understood there were still some kind of rules, because when you play with other people, you still need to be sure that everyone is ready before you start. And of course, there's the listening, like you always need to listen to other musicians. And so I understood that, but for me, it was not so. I mean, I wouldn't think about what the others were playing, even if I had some kind of relation to the music that was very, very like, how can I say this? Like very heart to heart, like listening to pop and rock music. But still, I wouldn't like, while I was playing with them, I wouldn't say like, oh, what he's doing, you know, I was just into it. And yeah, enjoying and trying to, yeah, be part of this.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then were you also, as you were exploring this journey, like what was the compositional, you know, aspect of it like when, and I guess what is the divide for you between, you know, composing something that you want to keep, you know, versus improvising something that you want to express in a moment?
It's a super good question to ask me now, actually. Because so I'm playing improvised music since like 10 years, and I would say for the 5 first years, I was just like composing in the moment, but I never tried to keep things I was composing in the moment. Now it's totally different. Now the thing is, I've also like played a lot of solo shows, and when you play a lot, at least for me, there are things that are coming back. So first I was trying to push them away, like some sounds, because in my head I was like, yeah, it's supposed to be improvised, so don't play the same thing twice, you know. But like I understood that it was part of me because it was always coming back, so I tried to compose something with all the things that would come back at each performances. And now I kind of have some kind of, yeah, I would say it's kind of composed in a way, some parts at least.
That's cool. I like that. You've sort of, you know, hit upon the grooves in yourself that like keep coming up. These like more intuitive, deeper parts of yourself are like, you know, that's the part that's composed, you know.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Sorry, I could also say, you know, the way maybe a rock band is composing and then going to a studio and then playing the songs on tour. I'm doing the opposite. So I'm playing a lot and trying to understand what's happening live, and then I record.
Yeah. Cool. That's cool. It's a cool approach. You know, flipping it on its head. So I guess that also speaks, I imagine, to why you don't edit your albums, because you've spent all of this time playing this music already. So it comes out and there it is. Right?
Yes. And even if, because of course there are always new things, even if there's something I'm not sure about, I'm not gonna edit it. It's just like I push on record and then stop, and that's it. I don't want to cut into it because, oh, I don't like this, or there is a drone here and there is a drone here, maybe we could put those parts together. No, I'm just trying to accept like what I could call my mistakes, because it's part of the improvisation and it's part of the process for me, at least. So yeah, that's why that's how I want to do it. Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, I mean, today, like what, you know, what would you say is most exciting to you in terms of, you know, your musical practice? Like I know when we first connected, you were playing with Chris Corsano, who was also on the show, and he's the one who recommended that we have you on as well. So we are grateful to Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I love you.
And you were about to play here in London And I'm curious, like, how, what's kind of the ideal split, of time in terms of playing shows on your own, playing shows with other people, recording the things that
Mm,
you have discovered within yourself, let's say.
mm. So for me, it's way more exciting to play live, solo or with other people than recording. Especially recording improv music in a studio for me is a super weird thing.
Yeah, I imagine.
I feel like, I don't know, for me it's not very comfortable, because I always have the feeling it's very different without an audience, because I feel like I really need at least for like one person to be in the room and like listening to what I'm doing, and not just like looking at a microphone and a bass cabinet and just being like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I feel like that, the energy of the space is so important to, the output, like the music. I think I mentioned this like, probably every other episode, but but I think about it all the time. When I was interviewing Elliot Sharp at one point, an experimental guitarist, out in New York, he talked. This was right at the beginning of the pandemic, so we were talking about like the loss of these spaces that we typically shared. One of those, of course, is like a music venue, and he talked about the importance of like pheromonal resonance, of like the actual exchange of these parts of our chemistry, and how they're informed by the music, and there's a relationship that's established. It's kind of unseen, but it's definitely felt. You can like feel that resonance within a room. So yeah, I guess if you don't have that, especially in something like improvisation, where like you're not trying to remember like a composition, you're letting things flow. If you don't have that input from the audience, it's really difficult to.
Yeah, totally. Because, most of the time I'm also closing my eyes. I know a lot of musicians who are looking at the audience, and I I cannot really do that. I mean, when I'm playing the bass, because I've started playing the guitar and the synths now, and it's a different feeling. But when I'm playing the bass, I'm just like, I don't know, closing my eyes and trying to be in the moment and feel the energy. And so sometimes when I am closing my eyes, I can feel that the people are not really into it. I mean, and that's cool, but I like feeling this without looking at the people. I think it's really, it's part of the process. So I would prefer being in a room full of people who are not so interested in my music, but there. So at least I can feel something, than being in a recording studio, just like with microphones and like having this cold feeling of, oh yeah, actually, yeah, it's super cool, like to record our music and like to try to capture these moments, and especially when it's the first meeting, it's always super special. So yeah, I want to do it, but it feels very weird to me.
So I get that. Cool. Okay, Farida, at this point, I'd love to transition to part 2 of the episode, in which I ask you some questions about music you listen to. And yeah, I mean, in the background, we're recording each episode, and we're actually archiving every music mention that comes up in conversation, and we're creating a database to show how these different entities, from artists to music venues, whatever, that come up in conversation, kind of form natural connective threads between you and other people. So that's one of the things we're doing in the background. But the first question I'll ask you in this part is, I'm curious how you discover music, and if you could answer that question perhaps through some of your favorite curators or outlets, or like platforms that you spend time with.
So actually, the way I'm discovering new music is by going to my favorite record shop in Brussels.
Cool.
Yeah, it's called Tropical Records, and yeah, it's like I love going there. But I'm also buying old music. I'm basically listening more to people who are not part of this world today than people who are making music today.
It's still music discovery.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and so yeah, I listen to a lot of Alice Coltrane. I'm a huge fan, but also like I was saying, that singer from Mali, Oumou Sangaré, there is like my favorite song. It's called Jorolen. It's like so beautiful. Like there's a guitar solo that is so like wow. It's yeah.
Cool. I will give it a listen.
Yes, please.
And also going to be in Brussels in a couple of weeks, so I will go to Tropical Records as
Oh
well.
yes, please. Yeah, text me. We can have a coffee. They are
Perfect.
giving free beers sometimes also there.
Oh, cool. Even better.
Yes.
All right. Noted. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Speaking of records, do you remember the first album you've ever purchased and the most recent album that you purchased?
Wow. So the first one was Cranberries album, Ode to My Family.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. So that was also the album I was talking about, where I would press play, pause to try to learn the guitar.
With it, yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm still a huge fan. It's still in my collection, actually.
It's a great album.
Yeah. And the last one, let me think, because the last few weeks I've been buying so many stuff.
Cool.
The last one, oh, it was simply free jazz from Ornette Coleman.
Oh, nice.
I mean, simply.
Yeah.
But I needed it in my collection. I used to listen to a lot of Ornette Coleman like 6 years ago, because I was also briefly part of the National Orchestra from Paris, the National Jazz Orchestra from Paris.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, at the end it didn't work because they were not so open. I'm not ashamed to say this. But then I found this record again, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy this. This is a record.
I need to get back into Ornette Coleman too. It's been a while since I've spent time with his music, so
yeah, it's super cool. There's also the one, the cover is like a telephone, like a colored telephone. It's a super well-known one, where it's like basically a lot of kind of hip-hop grooves mixed with free jazz. Very cool.
Cool. I'll keep an eye out for that one too.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Here's the next question for you. Who are 3 artists of note that you heard for the first time in about the past year or so?
So new artists, you mean?
I mean, new artists to you. They don't have to be new artists. They could be. So I mean, artists that you've heard for the first time in the past year or so.
Okay, so there is this guy who's doing some kind of hip-hop punk. You know him maybe? He's English. Ugly. I mean, he calls himself Ugly.
Huh.
It's a very, I think it was, his first album was out last year. Okay. And it's very, it's kind of punky, hip-hop, quite aggressive, but I like it.
Cool. Check it out.
Yes. And then I don't know if I could say more, actually. because like I say, I listen to a lot of old music.
But are there old artists that you didn't know before that you are listening to this year now for the first time?
Not really, actually. Oh, the thing you need to know about me is also like I'm often on loops. So when I discover something, I stay on it for like months and months, and then I move on.
I kind of do that. I kind of do that too. I get it.
I can listen to one album every morning, like the same, for like months.
Until it really gets in your bones.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and then until you actually need a break from it. I get
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, cool. Okay, so here's the big question. You're going to a desert island and you get to bring 3 records with you. What are they?
Wow. So let me think a bit, because I thought about this already, but it's so difficult.
It's impossible.
So I would bring Laurie Neal. Wait, I need to think. It's so difficult.
Go ahead, take your time. You can always change your answer in the future. No pressure.
Wow. Yes, so I would surely bring Laurie Neal. What's the name? The Miss Education.
Yeah, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, I think.
Yes, that one for sure. Also because I used to listen to that a lot with my older sister, and it's just like, because my brothers and sisters are more into hip hop and R&B, so I was the only one like on the rock and free improv side.
Cool.
And then I would bring, wow, only 3.
Sorry, I know it's a mean question.
It's a very mean question. Yeah, I would bring Bad Bad Not Good.
Oh, nice.
The album called Second. Wow. And I'm now thinking, oh, it's more like on the kind of groovy side than maybe people think, and I like it actually, because people think I'm always listening to only improvised music, which is not the case.
Of course. I think a lot of people think that with all music artists, they're only listening to their own genre, which...
Yeah. And then let me think. The third one. Oh, you're so mean.
I'm sorry. My intentions are good.
And I would bring for sure Alice Coltrane, the album called, I cannot pronounce it always, but it's Hare Krishna something.
Yeah.
You want me to look it up?
I think I can maybe. The one I always listen to is Journey in Sachinanda.
Yes, this one.
That one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, it's not that one. It's
that
like
one.
No, it's Krishna Namas Sankirtana.
Okay. Not easy to say.
Because actually that one I used to listen every morning for, I would say, at least 6 months, and I'm still not sick of it. When I need to drive somewhere, it's in my car for sure.
Yeah. I feel like everyone's waking up to Alice Coltrane these days. Like, I feel like she's having a moment, and it's like, oh wow, It wasn't just John. Oh yeah,
Oh
Alice. Maybe
no.
Alice is even better.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would not say better. It's different.
It's really hard to compare the two.
Yes, but also for me, it's super cool, like to at least also being able to identify to a black woman who's like composing this beautiful music as Nina Simone, you know, because now it's not so easy, I think, for us black women to identify to musicians, at least in the free jazz world, I would say. It's not so easy.
Yeah, I believe that.
Also as a bassist, because usually people are like, oh, you're a singer. Or I would come with my bass and my boyfriend, are you the bassist? No, it's me.
So that's pretty badass though, when you can throw somebody off like that. You know, it's like, I'm the bass player.
I like doing this.
Yeah, cool. Cool. So that wasn't too painful, I hope, coming up with three. I think you picked three
A
three
bit,
good ones.
because I'm gonna think about this all night for sure.
As I said, it's an impossible question, so there are
Yeah.
no right answers. It's kind of just whatever comes up from your guts first, you know. I think you picked a good three.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. That's about all I've got, Farida. Before we go, you know, for folks who are listening, where can people check out your music? Where could they find a tour schedule? How can they follow along with what you're doing?
Yeah, so you can follow my stuff on Bandcamp. I'm actually going to release a new solo album next September.
Nice.
And it's going to be announced on the 5th of July.
Oh, that's soon.
That's super soon, and I'm very happy about this album. Like usually I'm not so, when it's solo, it's not so easy to be happy, at least for me.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm very happy about that one. It's gonna be out on a label from Cologne, Germany. It's called Weekend Records. I also recommend to everyone to go check out their Bandcamp page and their records, because they are releasing so many different things, from frizz to Brazilian music, now me. So it's really a really interesting label.
Cool.
And yeah, you can follow up my gigs, my dates on my website. So I think I'm gonna update this after our call, actually.
Okay. Cool. Perfect. So by the time you hear this episode, you can go to the website and go check out his show.
FaridaAmadou.com.
Perfect. And then last but not least, because you were the answer to this question when I asked it to Chris, now that you've been on For the Record, who is another music head that comes to mind that we should have on the show?
So for me, it's kind of easy, because I absolutely love talking about musicians from Belgium, because there are so many good musicians here, and they are not especially, very well known. And I think now I would tell you about my friend Suzanne Peters. She's an improviser and she plays accordion.
Oh, cool. I love the accordion.
Oh yeah, me too. And she's really amazing. She's doing like, crazy stuff on the accordion. And I think she deserves to have more visibility, because she's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Would love to help support Suzanne.
Yes.
And the accordion, all accordion players out there, because the accordion rules.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Well, Farida, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And for sharing your story. It's been really lovely to connect.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I'm super happy. And yeah, see you in Brussels.
Absolutely. I'll shoot you a note. We can hang out.
Yes, please.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thanks everyone for being here. That's a wrap on another episode of For the Record, a conversation series with all manner of music heads about their stories and the music that makes them. It's a production of Grey Matter and a new Crate Coalition experiment in building connective listening graphs. We stamp every music mention you heard here, from musicians to venue owners to journalists to tech builders to DJs, and in the background, we're mapping these names to form those yet unseen connective threads between people. Want to get involved? You can check out our website at greymatter.fm or come hang out in the Crate Coalition Discord. See you next time.